Welcome to the Board Game Network. This is James here. I'm going to be explaining to you how to play this game called Cacao, put out by Z-Man Games, designed by Phil Walker Harding. It's a very simple game. It plays 8 years and up, 2 to 4 players in about 45 minutes. Your goal is to lead your people to prosperity and glory through cultivation and trade of cacao. At the end of the game, whoever has the most gold is the winner. Here's the setup. Each of you takes one of these circle tiles and it's got a color. You take these tiles which match the color, and you take a meeple which matches the color. You shuffle these tiles. You're going to remove one plantation and one market that has a 2 on it and put them at this like this. You're going to shuffle these, flip 2 up. You are going to shuffle your color tiles and draw 3. And that's your starting space. Your starting meeple starts over here on the -10. Wow, that doesn't sound very good. -10 to start off with. That's your water carrier. He's along the river. And the setup is modified based on the number of players. For 2, 3, or 4 players, in what tiles are in here, you might have to pull some out. What tiles are in here, you might have to pull some out. Just check your setup for adjusting for the different number of people. When you play a tile, you cannot play, these are your worker tiles. These cannot be next to other workers. These are the jungle tiles, and they cannot be next to other jungle tiles. So you're going to end up with this checkerboard pattern of workers and jungle tiles. So I could place a worker here, but I could not come back later and put a worker next to a worker. Okay? So you'll notice that these have different numbers of meeples icons along the edge. They all add up to 4. So this has got 1, 1, 1, 1. There's a 1, 2, 1. Here's a 1 and a 3. And what that means is when I set that next to a tile, a jungle tile, I actually get 2 next to this one and 1 next to this one. So it counts based on where you're turning that. You can turn it whatever orientation you would like to get whatever benefit you get out of this. So here's the phases of your turn. First thing is you place a worker tile. So I've done that. Then you fill a jungle space, and when you fill a space, it's only if there is a space bordering 2 or more workers. So let's say yellow put out this one, then this one would fill up with a jungle space because there's 2 workers or 2 or more workers out here that have an empty space next to it. Okay? At this point, there's not 2 workers that have an empty space, so you wouldn't do step 2, and that gets played from the jungle display. If you run out of these tiles, then you don't place any more tiles. Then you take the jungle tile actions and you get to choose whatever order you want to. So let's say I place this. This one gives me cocoa beans, and this one lets me sell cocoa beans at the market. Well, so I'm going to choose to get cocoa before I sell them. So there's 2 meeple icons here, so I'm going to take 2 cocoa. And you'll notice I only have 5 spots for cocoa over here. And so I take 2, and then I can sell 1 for 2 gold. So I'm already in the money on my first turn. Then once the jungle tile actions have happened, then you draw a tile. So I'm back up to 3 tiles in my hand. You refill the jungle display back to 2 if you need to. And then the next player goes. And you go like this until you're out of tiles. And then you just drop into scoring. And scoring works like this. You have temples. They are going to score at the end of the game. You have these sun tokens. And you'll notice you've got 3 spots on your circle here. So you can only get 3 suns, and the way you get those is by placing something next to one of these that has a sun on it. So if that one got flipped up, a worker got placed out here, and then you put you put the sun in here, then yellow would get a cocoa bean here and a sun. And then purple would also get a sun. It's already got one here for being next to that spot. So you once you pick up something out of the display and set it over here, both tiles get the benefit. And the sun at the end of the game is worth 1 gold, but there's another benefit I'll get to. You score your worker, so at the beginning you're at -10, but when you get water, let's find us a water one. Let's say that got set there, then purple wouldn't get anything out of it because there's no purple person there. But if white had played this one and then the water got placed there, then white would move up 1 space because they have 1 meeple there. If they would have turned it this way so there's 2, then they would go up 2 spaces on the water. You're going to add your gold, and if there's a tie at the end of the game, whoever has the most cocoa. Then here's how the sun works. Once you have sun tokens and you run out of tiles over here, you have to be out of tiles, then you can overbuild. And overbuilding works like this. On your turn, you can say, well, I want to place over the top of one of my other tiles, and that costs you a sun. So you do not get the bonus at the end for having the sun. And you can only do this 1 time on a single tile, so you can't build over it again and again. But what that allows you to do is you can get other things, or if you're next to a temple, the temple gets a bonus based on who has the majority next to the temple. So let's say the temple was there and I had purple, had no person next to the temple. I could overbuild that, and that would change it to a 1 or whatever number is there. So it lets me get into the fight for the temple bonuses at the end of the game. And you can only do that for however many sun things that you have. And you can only do it if you have sun things. You have to spend those sun. And then the next person goes around. If you do not have sun tokens, then you have to play as normal and not overbuild. And you don't have to overbuild. That's just an option. The temple, the way that scores is whoever has the most people next to it, and you're scoring every temple separately. So whoever has the most people next to this one would score 6, and the second most would get 3. So in this case, purple would have 2, white would have 2, and then you'd have a tie. So in the case of a tie, you divide the 6 by the number of winners. So in this case, there'd be 2 winners. You divide by 6, divide by 2, and you get 3 each, and there is no second place. If you tie for second place, you divide the 3 by the number of winners, and you'd split that up. And both of those you round down on. Only the top tile counts, so you don't look underneath for counting that. The plantations, let me talk about all the different tiles. The plantations give you cocoa. So if this was a double plantation here, and I placed a double meeple next to it on my tile, I would get 4 cocoa for that. So that's what that tile does. That's a plantation. The market lets you sell, and there are different prices for the market too. That one's got a 2, which is kind of a low end one. There's a 3, and I believe there's a 4 in here, but only 1. So make sure you optimize by trying to get on those higher value markets. Gold mine is this one here, and you just simply take a gold, or however many gold is in the icon there when you put your person next to it. Water, when you place next to the water, then you simply move along. And if you look at the scoring on this, it definitely gives you an advantage to get off of the starting space, because the very first time you get off you get 6 points. The second time it's 3 and then 1. But then by the time you're getting back over here, you're getting 4 here and you're getting 5 here. So the starting ones and the ending ones will give you several points. The ones in the middle are pretty mediocre. So you have to kind of decide if you're going to go for water. If you're going to be around here, go ahead and try to get to the end. And once you get to the end, you can't go any farther. But at least get off the starting space. So you just go like that until you're out of tiles. That's how you play cacao or cocoa or however you say it. But it's a pretty simple game and a pretty quick playing. So make sure you tune into all of our videos here at the Board Game Network.